A woman learns the art of being magnetic. She no longer chases attention. She no longer tries to prove her worth. She no longer bends herself into shapes that please others. She simply exists in her truth, words, in her softness, in her self-respect, and the world begins to orbit around her calm strength. A magnetic woman does not demand energy, she draws it. She does not need to be loud to be noticed, words. She carries a quiet presence that makes everyone lean in. She is not playing games, she is mastering her energy. The secret to becoming magnetic lies not in trying harder, but in being more of yourself, rewards. More grounded, more intentional, more at peace with who you are. When you stop performing and start embodying your power, people feel it before you speak a single word. True attraction doesn't start with beauty, words. It begins with energy. A man is not drawn to a woman who is desperate for his validation. He is drawn to the woman who validates herself. Rewards, who knows what she brings to the table and isn't afraid to eat alone if she must. The moment you stop chasing love and start radiating it, everything begins to shift. You become the calm in the storm, words, the mystery in the noise, the woman who carries herself like she already knows she is enough. And that kind of woman becomes unforgettable. She becomes the standard. Because she doesn't beg for attention, words. She becomes the kind of energy no one forgets once they've encountered it. Being magnetic means knowing that your peace is power, that your silence is communication, that your boundaries are not walls, but filters that keep your energy sacred. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. Not everyone deserves access to you. A woman who values herself moves differently, words, speaks differently, and gives differently. She doesn't overextend to prove her kindness. She doesn't overgive to earn affection. She understands that true love is never born from exhaustion. Words, it's born from overflow. And she only gives from the overflow of her self-worth, never from her emptiness. That's the kind of presence that makes a man realize he can't just have her. Words. A woman's power begins the moment she stops chasing and starts attracting through her peace, confidence, and self-respect, because that's when something sacred awakens inside her, something unshakable, words. Something magnetic, something that no man can resist, no world can ignore, and no pain can destroy. It's the shift from trying to prove your worth to embodying it. Words, the moment you stop begging for attention and start moving with quiet assurance that you are the prize. It's when your energy changes, when your tone softens, but your boundaries harden. Words. When you no longer try to convince someone to see your value because you've already seen it for yourself. It's that energy that speaks before your lips move. That calm that confuses chaos, rewards. That confidence that radiates without noise because you've learned that the loudest woman in the room isn't always the most powerful. The most powerful woman is the one who knows her presence is enough. Words. Who knows her absence will be felt. Who doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg. She doesn't fight to be understood. Words. She understands herself so deeply that nothing outside can shake her. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. It's emotional maturity mixed with spiritual grace. It's knowing that peace is expensive and you refuse to spend it on people who don't deserve it. It's when you start walking with that kind of energy, men notice. They feel it before they even understand it. Words. They feel drawn to you not because you're trying to pull them in, but because your self-respect creates gravity. They feel safe around your confidence. They admire your calm. Words. And they can't explain why they can't stop thinking about you. It's because you stopped running after validation. You stopped trying to be chosen. You realize that you already are chosen by yourself, words, by God, by destiny. And that realization changed everything. It shifted your tone, your walk, your aura, the way you speak, the way you love, the way you breathe, words. Because a woman who knows who she is doesn't chase love. She inspires it. Peace becomes her new perfume, confidence her crown, and respect her language. She doesn't over-explain words. She doesn't argue to prove a point. She knows that silence sometimes speaks more powerfully than words because she's learned that attention means nothing if it costs her dignity. Words. That validation is empty if it requires begging, and that no man worth her time will make her question her worth. She walks away not to punish, but to protect her energy wards. She smiles not because everything is easy, but because she has mastered grace under pressure. Her peace is her power, and her stillness is her strength. She attracts what she mirrors. Calm attracts calm wards. Respect attracts respect. Love attracts love, because when you carry yourself like a queen, the world adjusts to treat you like one. This kind of woman doesn't chase closure. She becomes the closure wards. She doesn't demand commitment. She inspires it, not through manipulation, not through games, but through authenticity and boundaries, rewards. Because there's nothing more magnetic than a woman who knows she can be soft and strong at the same time. She can love deeply without losing herself. She can give without emptying her soul wards. She can forgive without reopening the door. And that balance, that maturity, that feminine wisdom makes her unforgettable. It's the kind of energy that stays on a man's mind long after she's gone wards. Because she wasn't trying to impress him. She was too busy impressing herself. She wasn't trying to keep him. She was trying to keep her peace. And in that detachment, in that self-assured glow, wards. She became irresistible. Men don't fall for perfection. They fall for presence. They don't stay for looks. They stay for the feeling they get around you. And when your energy is peaceful, grounded, wards, and confident, he'll crave it like air, because that's the kind of woman that reminds him of what real love feels like. Calm, not chaotic, consistent, not conditional, rooted in self-respect, not fear, wards. When you stop chasing, you start choosing yourself, your peace, your purpose, your worth. You start moving from desperation to inspiration, from waiting to creating, from pleading to praying, wards. And in that moment, everything about you begins to change. You stop explaining yourself to those who never cared to understand. You stop apologizing for being powerful, emotional, passionate. You start owning your light, and that's when life begins to mirror your energy back to you. You begin attracting what matches your frequency, because you no longer have space for what drains it, wards. You stop begging for love and start becoming love. Your smile becomes softer, your mind clearer, your spirit lighter, because you're no longer in a race to be chosen. You're walking in your divine timing, wards. Your confidence doesn't come from who wants you, but from knowing that you can stand alone and still shine. You learn that solitude isn't loneliness. It's strength in disguise, wards. It's where queens rebuild their thrones and polish their crowns. It's where you find yourself again, where you fall in love with the woman you were meant to be. And when you do that, wards, your energy shifts so deeply that the same people who once ignored you now feel your absence in every moment of silence. They replay your calm, your kindness, your wisdom, and they realize that losing a woman like you was never freedom. It was a loss disguised as choice. You stopped chasing not because you stopped caring, wards, but because you finally understand that love is never meant to cost you your self-worth. You stop begging because you now see that respect is the foundation of real love, wards. And you stop explaining because your peace no longer needs permission. You've stepped into a level of womanhood that is magnetic, graceful, and unshakable, where your presence heals, your words empower, rewards, and your energy inspires. And when you live from that space, you don't just attract men. You attract purpose, blessings, and peace, and everything that once felt heavy now starts flowing, wards, because you've aligned with your true self, your highest self, the woman who knows that chasing isn't power, peace is. And when you choose peace, you'll never have to chase again, because what's meant for you will always be pulled toward you by the strength of your energy, the calmness of your confidence, and the quiet power of your worth, wards. When a woman learns that her energy is her greatest power, she stops giving it away so freely. She begins to understand that not every message deserves a reply, not every call needs to be answered, and not every man is worthy of her peace. She learns to sit in her silence, to move in her mystery, to glow without explanation. And that's when she becomes magnetic, wards. That's when the world starts turning toward her instead of her chasing it, because real attraction doesn't come from being available to everyone. It comes from being aligned with yourself, wards, from walking with grace, from speaking with intention, and from knowing that your presence is a privilege, not a right. It's in the stillness that she rediscovers her power. Wards. The quiet moments where she used to overthink are now moments she uses to rebuild. She doesn't cry for attention anymore. She creates her own light. She doesn't ask for love. She becomes it. Wards. Because the truth is, when a woman realizes her worth, she doesn't compete. She calibrates. She doesn't run after love. She raises her energy and lets love find her. Wards. She becomes peace in a world addicted to chaos, calm in a room full of noise, and confidence in a world full of comparison. Her energy begins to speak before she does. Her silence becomes her language. Wards. Her poise becomes her weapon. Her kindness becomes her armor. And her glow becomes her revenge. She doesn't have to prove what she already knows, that she is rare, that she is worthy, that she is enough. Wards. And she doesn't need anyone to validate that truth, because she now carries it in her walk, in her words, in the way she chooses herself every day. Wards. She understands that being desired is not the same as being valued. She stops performing for attention. She stops over-giving to feel seen. She stops shrinking herself to make others comfortable. And in doing so, wards. She rises, she evolves. She becomes the kind of woman who cannot be forgotten, not because she tried to be unforgettable, but because she lived authentically, with a heart so real and an energy so pure that it leaves an imprint. Her magnetism is not in her looks, but in her aura, not in her body, but in her presence. She carries herself like she knows her worth. Rewards. Because she does, she knows that the way she talks, the way she holds herself, the way she handles disappointment, all of it reflects her power. She knows that begging never builds love. It only breaks dignity. Rewards. So she refuses to plead for what should be freely given. She refuses to settle for crumbs when she deserves the whole feast. And she refuses to chase validation that costs her peace. Wards. Because she's learned that no man, no relationship, no attention is worth losing herself over. Her silence isn't weakness, it's self-control. Her distance isn't bitterness, it's wisdom. Wards. Her calmness isn't indifference. It's understanding. She knows that when she stops reacting, she starts ruling. When she stops explaining, she starts expanding. And when she stops chasing, wards. Everything meant for her starts chasing her, because that's how divine energy works. It flows toward balance, not desperation, toward peace, not panic, toward light, not fear. And when she embodies that, wards, she becomes irresistible. Because she's no longer moved by emotion. She's moved by purpose. She doesn't attach to potential. She aligns with energy. She doesn't cling to what's leaving. Wards. She trusts what's meant to stay. She doesn't force anyone to love her. Wards. She just loves herself so fully that others have no choice but to respect her. She starts realizing that the power to attract isn't in her words, but in her energy, in the way she looks at life with faith. Rewards. In the way she handles rejection with grace, in the way she keeps her peace when others try to provoke her. That's magnetism. That's what makes her unforgettable, because she's no longer in survival mode. Wards. She's in creation mode. She doesn't chase what's fading. She focuses on what's forming. She doesn't cry for doors that close. She builds new ones. She doesn't prove she's worthy of love. Wards. She moves like she already is. And that energy draws the right people, the right opportunities, the right love, the kind that recognizes her value instead of testing it. She's learned that power isn't loud. Wards. It's grounded. It's knowing when to walk away without anger, when to stay without losing yourself, and when to love without breaking your spirit. Wards. She knows that the most magnetic thing a woman can be is at peace, because peace is rare. It's sacred. It's healing. It's magnetic. And when a man meets a woman who has mastered her peace, wards, he knows he can't play with her. He knows she's not afraid to lose him, because she's already found herself. She knows that her silence teaches louder lessons than her anger ever could. Wards. And that detachment doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she cares about herself more. This kind of woman doesn't demand to be chosen. She chooses herself every morning. Wards. She doesn't need to post her worth. She lives it. She doesn't chase trends. She creates standards, because she's learned that confidence doesn't mean perfection. It means alignment. Wards, she knows that her femininity is not weakness. It's power wrapped in grace. It's the ability to stay soft in a hard world, to stay kind in a cruel one, to stay radiant in a dark one. Rewards. Her femininity isn't about pleasing others. It's about being so grounded in her truth that she can embrace her emotions, honor her needs, and still move with dignity. Wards. That balance between softness and strength makes her magnetic, because it's rare, and rarity always attracts attention. She has stopped overgiving, stopped explaining. Wards. Stopped trying to be everything for everyone, and started focusing on becoming the best version of herself for herself. She stopped texting first, not because she's playing games, wards, but because she's protecting her energy. She stopped forcing conversations, because she knows what's real doesn't need to be forced. She stopped lowering her standards, wards, because she realized that anything that requires her to shrink isn't love, it's control, and she doesn't belong there. She's learned that it's better to be alone with peace than together with confusion, wards. Better to grow in solitude than shrink in someone's shadow, and better to love herself loudly than beg for love quietly. Her new attraction comes from discipline, wards, from knowing that not reacting is sometimes the most powerful reaction, from understanding that mystery is not manipulation, it's maintaining self-respect, and that her energy is sacred, wards. She doesn't waste it on proving a point. She doesn't drain it trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding her. She saves it for growth, for healing, for purpose, for joy, wards, because she knows that her glow depends on her boundaries, her peace depends on her discipline, and her magnetism depends on her energy. She doesn't need to prove her worth anymore. She simply embodies it, wards. And that embodiment creates a pull that's impossible to ignore. She's not competing with anyone anymore because her only competition is her past self. She's not waiting for love to find her because love already lives within her. And when she moves from that truth, her presence becomes power. Her silence becomes statement. Her smile becomes spell. And her spirit becomes unforgettable, wards, because she doesn't chase to be remembered. She lives in such alignment that forgetting her becomes impossible. Her energy stays in rooms long after she leaves. Wards. Her words echo in hearts long after the conversation ends, and her peace becomes a standard that others crave, because there's nothing more magnetic than a woman who is confident, calm, and completely herself, wards. A woman who knows that the moment she stopped chasing, everything she ever desired began finding its way toward her.